Guys, this music like literally kind of floors me sometimes. Check out music labs. They're pretty cool. Also, check out HJ Bendele on Amazon. I have sold literally no volume ones of my one book, making me kind of not want to put out a volume two. I really need a hug. Okay, just a few things I learned from last ghost busting video. Give me a sec, I need to move back a little. Yeah. Apparently you guys like this. You guys are silent during streams, but you like this. I'm guessing this is a future video that catches on more in the future in the rewatches, which is just fine. I am happy to have people watch this after the fact. That does mean I need to keep the music going. Otherwise, I just feel like an awkward, lonely guy sitting in his living room, watching videos and complaining about how, there ain't no ghost. Also, I'm doing this video because, they do well. So if you actually don't like this video or would much rather see me do something else, please let me know. This D&D and VR chat seems to go over quite well, so I'm gonna try and focus more on those, my last remaining few weeks of streaming. Because the 25th, it's coming up. I'm nervous about new baby. I'm sad to go. And well, I'm going to get a little wild now and then. So let's bring you guys in. I've got a series of pre-selected videos from people other than Nuke's Top 5. Because where Nuke's Top 5 is my main poke at kind of person, I decided to give them a rest. This one is called 10 Scary Ghost Sightings from The Wow. The Wow, not in-you-out, The Wow. So, keep that in mind. Now, I've watched these. I played them a little bit for like a few seconds just to make sure they weren't too bad, but I haven't actually watched any of the ghost stuff. So let's get going.
Scariest things a person could witness. You might want to grab your blanket because in today's video, I am going to give you the top 10 scary ghost sightings. Number 10, Ghost Jail. A YouTuber named Junked Up Kitten and his friends are exploring an old county jail. They take a video camera with them so that they can make a parody of the Ghost Hunters television series. Little did the small group know that on this night, they would accidentally capture actual evidence of real ghosts. Junked Up Kitten wanders around the property with the camera close to his face while narrating. He passes by an ordinary-looking jail cell window, and doesn't think much of it at the time. When he goes back to review the footage later, he makes a startling discovery in the window. It looks like his parody show has turned out to be the real thing. On the other side of the glass, the colorless reflection of a man's face stares at him. You can clearly see the outline of the ghost's brown nose and empty eyes. His head is cocked to the right, almost as if he is sizing up a newcomer. His mouth appears to be a thin, expressionless line. If anything, the ghost has incredible timing. Right when Junked Up Kitten says that he is looking for evidence of ghosts, one just happens to show up in the window. It's almost as if the ghost was trying to make its presence known. Perhaps it was even trying to get a hold of someone who could free up from his miserable cell.
Okay, just a few things to point out. That's a haunted place that gets money for tourists coming in and out, and that's just a smudge. That is just a smudge. It could have been someone hiding in the cell, pretending to be a ghost, but it looks far more like somebody at some point pressed their face up against the door and it just stuck. Actually, that makes sense, a lot of sense. It's a prison cell. You imagine somebody would be pressing the face up against the glass, wondering what's going on out there, or sort of people or nearby.
Number 9. Restaurant spooks. Most people think of houses or hospitals when they think about ghost sightings, but some of the most unsuspecting places can turn out to be the most haunted. This footage was taken in a popular food joint during broad daylight. A shadowy thing suddenly materializes in a Subway restaurant. It starts out in the shape of a human, and appears to be getting a table. When it gets back to it sees the black shadow suddenly changes into a floating black blob of an orb. At this point, an employee or maybe a customer appears to see the ghosts in the doorway. Whoever they are, they look stunned for a second, and then quickly back away from the shadow. It pays no attention to the human as it floats up to the window and lingers there. It's almost as if it's taking a look at the outside world. The ghost materializes in a Subway restaurant. It starts out in the shape of a human, and appears to be getting a table. When it gets back to its...
Okay, stop listening to the guy and look at the thing. Does that not look like a bug to you guys? Guys, 100% a bug on a lens. That is what I expect it to be.
Almost as if it's taking a look at the outside wherever it came from. They can favorite team haunt the ghost. ADM ghosts don't have to wait until nighttime before they can begin to haunt, as the Brazilian soccer footage shows. The crowd is happily cheering on their favorite team, when suddenly a shadow starts sprinting through all of them. Look closely and you'll notice how nobody tries to move out of the way. Even though a person is clearly running full speed at them, not a single person tries to pull their legs in, or even bothers to look up. They are so concentrated on the game that they do not see, feel, or hear the ghost as it runs directly through the half-filled stadium in an 8-line.
Interesting.
Number 7.
I don't know about that one.
Ghost.
I don't know about that one. My first guess would be that's just a guy running through a stadium and no one's really paying attention to him. But, you know, it'd be kind of difficult to just run through that.
A YouTuber named No Ghost Hunter grows tired of living in a haunted house and decides to videotape the disturbances for evidence. It's a little past midnight when you hear a scratching noise, which soon progresses into running footsteps and loud bangs. These noise appears to be coming from all different areas of the home. At once the next day, his HD TV literally begins rocking violently from side to side, all by itself. The rocking motion picks up speed until the corners of the TV are almost hitting the entertainment center, and it looks like the base is going to break. Then the TV starts rocking back and forth. The other way, there is nobody behind the television, and there's no way they could have been using strings to do this. The day after, No Ghost Hunter finds a short video on his phone that he is 100% sure he did not make. The video is shot from the ground level of the kitchen when you look at their reflection in the...
I'm sorry, what was that flashing?
Not make. The video is shot from the ground level of the kitchen when you look at their reflection in the oven. You can see that nobody is holding the phone. The phone is literally floating in midair. Additional footage shows the TV shaking by itself again. This time, No Ghost Hunter is able to film behind the television to show that this is not a prank at all. He waves his hand above the television to show that there's no wires, and he even films underneath the base to show that there is no rod coming out from the entertainment center or anything like that. The lights cut out multiple times. While he films a few days later, he captures his refrigerator door slamming open and closed again. And again, the brazen poltergeist leaves the door open to make sure its presence is fully known. Number 6.
That's interesting. Well, that could have been string. I mean, when someone starts their ghost hunting YouTube channel, it's probably fake, but I don't know how.
Watched from above. A group of British friends are playing catch in a courtyard when one of them sees something strange and pointed out to the others. The camera follows his gaze and stops on a pale face looking at them from high above. The sickly person looks at them for a second longer before silently slipping out of view. The group is now creeped out and wants to know who has been spying on them this whole time. They tell the property manager about the face they saw in the window, but she says that it's impossible. The room they are talking about has been locked and unoccupied for quite some time. The manager goes up with them to unlock the door and show them around. They try and find the person, but the place is completely empty. There's no way anyone could have been up there yet. The camera obviously says differently. The mysterious peeper has never been identified. Number 5.
That could easily be faked. That's just too easy to explain away.
Pete's ghost. There's a famous pub in Sydney, Australia called the Carlisle Castle Hotel. For years, this local watering hole has been haunted by the ghost of Old Pete, a bitter ex-employee who left the earth quite some time ago, but not his job. His ghostly antics have been caught on camera, no less than 3 times. The first time Pete was caught on tape, he was helping a customer. The unsuspecting man opens the door to the cooler when Pete decides to grab 2 bottles of red wine for himself. His ghost grip must have not been too tight though, because both bottles go crashing to the floor. Looking at the footage, there's no way that the shelf gave out or anything like that.
Totally way the shelf gave out. There's also a way that something behind them got a little roost and rolled down before getting caught again. And also, my brain immediately goes to earthquake, but the fact that everything else doesn't move tells me that's probably not an earthquake. I don't know. Also, a string could have been tied to it, and as a guy walked through, he pulled on a string with his feet, either knowingly or unknowingly.
The bottles were thrown to the ground with deliberate force, with no one nearby. Another incident occurred when the bar was full of witnesses. Everyone is happily enjoying themselves, when a hanging red wine glass suddenly dislodged itself and smashes into the counter. Glass shards fly everywhere and the entire bar takes notice.
That's not weird.
Although this could have simply been a freak accident, what are the chances that of all the red wine glasses, the one that's directly underneath the server happens to be the one to fall and break?
Well, let's actually look at that.
This could have simply been a freak. Glass shards fly everywhere and the entire bar takes.
Looks about 50% really. Because look at all those glasses, and look at all the ones that are above this individual. And wine glasses break.
Takes
it's
notice.
Just a thing that happens
Although
sometimes.
This could have simply been a freak accident, what are the chances that of all the red wine glasses, the one that's directly underneath the server happens to be the one to fall and break? The timing is almost too perfect to be a coincidence. Old Pete strikes again. The third and final tape reveals a glimpse of Old Pete himself. The bar is empty this time when the angry ghost suddenly materializes in front of the security camera. If you look closely, you can make out Old Pete's head. Bottom of the screen, he appears to be waving. Many other bartenders and customers all claim to have seen Old Pete for themselves, another way or another. It isn't uncommon for tapes to turn on by themselves, and the bartenders have seen what they can only describe as strange things while counting down the registers after close. To make this even stranger, all of the bottles that go crashing to the floor are always high in red wines. This just so happens to be Old Pete's favorite drink.
Or the exact same bottles that you store in the exact same place.
At least when he was still with the living. Number 4. For the church. Disturbing Stephen Shaker wandering around the woods one summer night with a single goal in mind. They want to explore an abandoned local chapel that's rumored to be haunted. As they approach, they see that someone has written prayers and warnings all over the outside wall. The two friends instantly get a bad feeling about this adventure, but they swallow their fear and decide to press on. The rickety main door is locked, so they sneak around the back. They don't want to be here much longer. They had explored an old clock tower earlier in the day and were greatly ended by a lack of paranormal activity. But
if you're going to commit a crime, like say breaking and entering, do not film it, and do not then go put that on the internet. Just some life advice for some of you.
I could tell this church is way different. The place looked and felt quite haunted. They go up some wooden steps and enter through the back door. They shine their flashlights deep into the church's main assembly, those rows and rows of wooden pews ahead of them. They pass by a podium and notice a piano. They went deeper inside. Now they find themselves inside of a small maintenance closet. They close the door behind them because they don't want anyone sneaking up on them. It feels like anyone could be watching them right now. They see a ladder to the left. Steve is about to climb it until Jake jokes that a body is going to fall down on him if he does, so he decides not to. That's when the piano starts to play from outside. It's a soft and haunting piano melody that fills the church. Steven and Jake turn off their flashlights and keep recording. They debate whether or not they should go outside or stay here where it's semi-safe. They realize that they can't spend the entire night trapped in the broom closet of a haunted church, so they turn their flashlights back on to see who is playing and sitting at the piano. At the far end of the room is a black hunched-over phantom. They scream and shut the door. Jake cries for a bit. Then they run away through the back exit. The music stops as soon as they leave the church.
Okay, guys, you know what I say. You know what I'm going to say. If you see a ghost, do not just record a glimpse of it. There's plenty of suits that make you look like a black outline. You could pick one up off of Amazon for less than 20 bucks. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe a bit more than 20 bucks. But a dark figure at the end of a hall does not necessarily mean a ghost. It could mean somebody in a suit. And the very quick pan away and pan to just gives us a very bad frame of reference to judge us on.
They were hoping that the music stopped because it was over, but in reality, it was because the ghost had gotten up from the piano to chase them. They run a good distance before pausing to look back into the dark scenery. It seems like they have gotten away, but then the ghost finds them and they run away screaming. The camera cuts off as they fall back deeper into the woods. At least one of them survived and uploaded this video onto YouTube, where it's remained for the woods. At least one of them survived and uploaded this video onto YouTube.
That is a person. That is a person in what looks to be a black sheet.
Number 3, the teleporter. Two girls are alone in their house when one of them sees something in the doorway. Pause the video and you can see it's clearly the upper half of a young girl who is just an old-fashioned. It was from another time period. She is floating in mid-air as she curiously peeks in on the two children to see what they are doing. One of the girls still doesn't see the ghost. She shouts at something that's on television and accidentally startles the ghost away. The girl with the camera follows the ghost as it retreats. The ghost instantly teleports and now stares at them from the top of the steps. The scared girls run out of the house screaming. They stop only for a second to turn around.
There's a clear cut.
As it retreats.
Right about here. Right here. This is a perfect place for a cut, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened here.
From the top of the steps. The scared girls run out of the house screaming. They stop only for a second to turn around from the streets. They can see the ghost girl walking across the left window on the top floor. It vanishes and then suddenly appears on the bottom floor in less than a second. They scream even louder and take off again. Number 2, stay out of the attic. Back in 2008, a man started to notice some strange activities around his house. He would often come home from work to find his dogs cowering under the bed, too afraid to come out. One of his dogs would only come out from under the bed for a brief 10 seconds at most, before going straight back into hiding. Something was intimidating these large dogs badly. The owner starts to hear banging noises coming from over his house. He begins to look around. He eventually traces the noises to his attic and goes upstairs with a camera for a closer look. Everything is completely trashed. Boxes are overturned and clothing is scattered everywhere. Something has violently flung all of his personal possessions all around. As soon as
Okay, so the first assumption that any logical person would make in this situation is my house has been invaded by a person. I would call the police. Not start up a camera and go adventuring out there yourself. Have you ever been out of your bedroom in the middle of the night because you thought you heard some bump in the night? You probably got like a bat or a sword or heckin' a gun. You sort of going around there going, I don't know, hey stranger, please come out. This guy's just like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna get my camera, I'm just gonna wear my slacks and t-shirt and yep, I'm just gonna look to where I 100% hear that baiting coming from. And now that I see that it has been disturbed greatly, I'm going to look even more.
As he goes back downstairs, he hears another huge bang and runs back upstairs to see what was happening. He puts the camera down and searches the empty attic for clues. A nearby metal bucket falls over, and he runs out of the room before he gets hurt. Another object hits the ground. The camera moves to the right on its own. The homeowner was too scared to look at the footage. He waited a week before going back upstairs to get his camera. By now, he was understandably quite paranoid. He begins recording everything he does in his home. And it isn't long before he has more paranormal evidence. One day his radio turns to static and a spirit brushes out the window later. Something violently jiggles the doorknob to the door that leads to the attic. The door opens and shuts by itself. The radio goes back to normal soon after things look to be going back to normal for a second. Then, a paper towel roll suddenly flies up from the table to the couch, and the radio starts making more sounds again. The video recording starts to get fuzzy.
Okay, so my YouTube video is up to 1080. Look at the quality of this video. Look at the quality of this video. This is more like 720. That makes it, in some cases, a lot easier to fake things.
As if a ghost is causing electrical disturbances by passing by. Both of his dogs begin to look in the same spot as if they are following something. Whatever it was, the man was never able to physically catch it on film. He was only able to record its strange and oftentimes violent behaviors.
None of this is difficult to fake.
Ghoul.
You got ropes, you got strings, fishing lines, you got air cannons. You know those little vortex cannons where you pull back and you release and it shoots out a burst of air? And you got those going on. You can easily fake this. I'm fighting the idea that this could be nothing but a ghost. And I'm finding it could be a lot of things other than a ghost. Like, for instance, someone who wants to make YouTube videos and get views.
This footage comes from somewhere in the Middle East. A group of teenagers are curiously exploring an old school. They go up a flight of steps and pause when they hear dog whining on the other side of the door. They all run down the steps and gather at the bottom. They're afraid of being attacked by a group of stray dogs now, but they decide to press on and explore the lower areas. The group finds bravery in their numbers and begins to joke and laugh again as they make their way down a long hallway. They open a door and find graffiti on the wall. Other people had been there before them. Maybe this place isn't so bad after all. The teens grow a little more nervous as they continue to poke around. They are laughing less and starting to go south. Silent. Something just isn't right about this section of the building. A YouTuber named Zaban Jaguar translated their comments. He says at this point, one of the teens say that their phone shut itself off, even though it was fully charged only a moment ago. Another person was able to keep recording though. They probably wish they hadn't. They entered one classroom in particular and got a dreadful feeling. Suddenly, a figure actually appears out of thin air and walks towards them. The ghost is missing his head, but there's somehow no blood. Chanting begins as soon as the ghost walks towards them, but amazingly there were prayers from a nearby mosque. The group all appears to have missed the ghost, which explains why they calmly continued to keep exploring. They wouldn't see the apparition until much later, but when they did, they would never forget what was heading straight.
Okay, so there's no explanation for this other than there's computer trickery involved.
Towards them in that
Or I guess
room.
ghost. It could be a ghost.
Thanks for checking out this video. Don't forget to leave a like,
But it's either they straight up fake that themselves with video trickery, or I guess there's a ghost. Oh, sorry, I did not introduce this video. This is top 5 ghost sightings that were caught on video. That in particular is yelled. That is how it's read. That is how it's clearly run there by Dark Corners.
Warning, the following video contains content that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. The ghost in the abandoned house. In this video you can see how two friends record themselves going into an old abandoned house. In here, one of the friends records something terrifying. See it for yourself.
720, really? That's max? Alright, whatever.
Whatever happened to the house? Look your stairway. What is that?
This video quality is rife for data moshing and
Whose garage is that?
artifacts.
Yeah, that's like a warehouse, man. Look at the roof, it's all fucked up. Where? In there, shit, look. Oh yeah. What the fuck? Look at that shit. Huh? Glass.
This is really hard to watch.
The other door.
Where?
In the middle of the living room.
The roof
Okay, you
is
go.
all fucked up.
Holy
shit! Dude! Oh my fuck! Go! I could have sworn I saw a person!
Yep, that's a person.
The ghost in Eastern State Penitentiary. The video you are about to see was recorded in the Eastern State Penitentiary, a former prison located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was used from 1829 until 1971. Here's a small clip from a documentary about this prison that explains how the prisoners were treated inside of the penitentiary.
The key to the
Badly is
success
my
of Eastern
assumption.
State Penitentiary was the complete isolation of its inmate population. As a matter of practice, prisoners were hooded whenever they were outside their cells. Cells were built with soundproof walls in order to keep the prisoners from fraternizing with each other. For all essential purposes, the inmates were cut off from the outside world, forbidden to see another prisoner for the entire duration of their sentence.
The following footage
Badly,
was recorded
yes.
in the Eastern State Penitentiary. If you look closely, you can see a black figure moving towards the camera before turning back and quickly moving away.
That could be hundreds of things.
The restaurant poltergeist. This video was recorded by CCTV cameras in Jamie's World Grill and Bar in Luton. It shows a woman getting up from her table, after which strange things start to happen near her table.
Every single one of those things could just be fishing line. I don't understand.
The ghost in the room. In the following video you can see how a man decides to investigate a strange sound coming from one of the rooms in his house.
Bad
And here
choice.
he makes a startling discovery. See it for yourself.
I see something there. I don't know what it is. Could be a blanket. Ah. Oh, that looks a bit more like a person.
The Fallen Rake. The following video, which was recorded in Spain, documents how a group of friends find a strange creature in the woods.
Somehow related to a rake, I imagine. just be a naked guy.
What do you think? Could this footage be proof of actual paranormal activity, or could it all be fabricated? Let me know right here in the comments.
Every single one of those could be fabricated quite easily in one way or another. Dark Corners, you're not even that good. To be fair, this was made in 2017. Maybe they're making better things now. Who knows? But yeah, let's look at this last video, this 10-minute video one. It was made this year, so I'm hoping it's better. Maybe that was just spooky back then.
Stay tuned for a sneak peek of this week's episode at the end of this video.
You can't make me.
Today, we're going to be reviewing some of the most shocking videos I've found on the internet in recent months. Let this be a warning for anybody that wishes to continue. This is truly the stuff of nightmares. Number 1. This video was taken by a static camera set up by the owner of this home, who had been repeatedly experiencing strange events such as moving objects and misplaced objects throughout their home. If you look closely at the coffee table, you notice the remote seemed to move to the right on its own. Following that, you see the TV turn on. If you pay closer attention to the TV, you'll notice a shadow moving from right to left, with no people or...
Okay, hold on. The shadow moves right to left. Let's have a look at it.
Who had been repeatedly experiencing strange events such as moving objects and misplaced objects throughout their home. If you look closely at the coffee table, you notice the remote.
I don't notice, actually.
If you look closely at the coffee table,
this right here,
you notice the remote seemed to move to the right on its own.
very
Following
jittery.
that, you see the TV turn on. If you pay closer attention to the TV, you'll notice a shadow moving from right to left.
That same shadow moved left to right earlier, though.
Objects present to cast that shadow. This event seems very peculiar.
I don't think that's true. I think there is a person behind who... I don't know. But this moving thing seems a little glitchy, making me think it's a cut-up sort of situation. So I think maybe what happened... Okay, so two things could have easily happened. One, someone tied a string to here and slightly pulled it from some awkward pulley system. I'll say that. That'd have to be an awkward pulley system. Or somebody else is standing behind the couch here and uses a universal remote or another remote connected to that TV. And, I don't know. Big question is, what's behind this couch? Is there enough room for that? I don't know the layout of this room, so I can't say too much. It's sort of angled like... Well, actually, hold on. I think I can see a wall here. Interesting. Interesting, okay. So, look here.
Strange events such as moving objects and misplaced objects throughout their home.
But I swear I see like a little corner of wall. Hold on. Hold on. Zoom. You know? I think that's a half wall. I can't entirely be sure, but what I kind of see here is a wall here that ends here. And I see something over here. And I see the couch here. That doesn't make sense. The couch is at an odd angle then. I guess it's possible that whoever made the wall didn't do good enough. No, it's not completely off angle. It's just a little off angle. That's extensive. That's complicated. So I guess what I think what happened is there's a wall right here that you can see just this corner right here that I'm hiding. But that wall is only half a wall. And someone's behind that wall manipulating things.
You notice the remote seemed to move to the right on its own.
And I still see the step. So it looks like somebody could easily have, I don't know, come along and moved it.
You see the TV
And they
turn on.
just basically did stop motion.
Closer attention to the TV, you'll notice a shadow moving from right to left.
I do notice that shadow.
Objects present to cast that shadow. This event seems very peculiar.
Reflections are weird in many ways.
Let's take a closer look at this and analyze some of this activity.
Okay.
Here it can be seen the shadow passing from the left to the right.
Okay.
The reflection in the TV shows you the placement of the couch and the table. Notice
I'm a little confused about all of that.
past appears to be walking between the table and the couch.
I
At
don't
this point,
see
the
that.
remote gently slide to the right. The TV then turns on, eliminating the possibility of this being a pre-recorded video.
No, not really.
Some strange rolling white static seems to be playing on the TV during the duration of this clip. And finally, we see the same shadow move from right to left, walking the same path between the table and the couch that we saw earlier.
Something about this is hitting me weird. Something about this table is hitting me weird. I don't know what it is. I want to say that's not a real table. I think my first hunch with the MSN paint was wrong. I don't think that's the case. I'm wondering if... I think this scene is lighted weird. So weird that I'm half dedicated to calling it a 3D render. But I don't want to. Because that feels like a really cheap and throw out thingy. But what I can tell you is I'm pretty sure someone just cut out half of this footage. And because what you got here is a still frame. You got a clean back right here. It's what you got. So you could easily just put in whatever you want and just edit about and just wipe it away. That scene is perfect for green screening.
Number 2. This video was sent to me by a paranormal activity enthusiast that we use from time to time on Mindseed to go through our
I see a
footage
person here.
and find things that we may have missed during our investigation.
Packages.
In this video, it appears as if a middle-aged woman is out during the evening watering her plants.
But that's a lie. She's out during the morning. Actually, technically, I'm right. It's 12:40 a.m. So depending on where you live, that's midnight. So it's after midnight. So technically, I'm right.
If you look in
That was a
the
joke.
bottom of the screen, you see a strange figure appear. This figure standing there, motionless, seems to be the shadow from someone who is possibly standing out of frame. But what we're about to witness as she walks along the flower bed while watering her plants seems to lend itself to maybe another explanation for the phenomenon we're experiencing. The shadow, attached to no other objects or people, seems to follow her. The figure appears to be at least semi-transparent.
I don't know.
Notice the gravel that you can see through the base of the figure.
My initial instinct was...
She faces her flashlight directly at the figure. Notice how the dark figure doesn't disappear when in direct light. Nor does the outline of the figure distort when the flashlight is shined upon it.
That is interesting.
What we see next is the figure begin to follow her, staying far enough behind as if it doesn't want to be noticed. But
Come on, show me that. Interesting. I don't think that one's a bug. I don't know what it is. But I do know a few things. The fact that it doesn't go away, but that you can see a light through means it's definitely not a shadow. If it was a shadow, it would have just been wiped away completely by the light. I guess it could be another video edit, but I'll make 2 video edits in a row. It has to be...
Number 3. This video was taken on a cell phone by an employee of this hospice, who was all alone one night when he began hearing noises from what he assumed to be a vacant hallway.
Oh.
Upon further investigation, he opened the door to peer down the hallway, when he notices a figure peeking out of a doorway in what appears to be a playful manner. Upon closer inspection, you can see the figure. As it appears, it begins to flicker, as if it's some sort of projection. As it steps into the hallway, you'll notice that it appears to be semi-transparent. The neck and head of the figure seem to be elongated, in what looks like some type of earthworm Jim fashion. As we watch this video, you can only imagine the kind of ice-cold fear coursing its way through this employee's veins. To be there alone at night, definitely not for the faint of heart.
Okay, either ghost or video edit. Maybe he is looking to glass. That could be a reflection. There's a lot of artifacts that just doesn't explain. Because that transparency is hitting on dark, but this would be a complicated, difficult edit. You would have to have darn good rotoscoping skills and tracking skills, or darn good software. So it has to be a reflection in the window he's looking through, because he's looking through a window. It has to be a well orchestrated and planned thing then.
What you're about to witness on this video can only be described as an assault.
Okay, those are people, those are not ghosts.
Act committed against these 2 gentlemen by what appears to be some poltergeist-like entity.
Nah.
If we slow it down, you can see the first point of contact. As the gentleman in front reaches the top step of the descending staircase, he's met with an onslaught of violent blows, being delivered by an attacker he cannot defend himself against. He's immediately taken down and mounted by this entity. He then endures a very brief but very aggressive session of some paranormal ground and pound.
Okay, but look at this light here. When have you seen a stairway like that? There's a light behind the camera, and there's someone behind the camera as well, in front of the light. I do good English, and I'm thinking shadow puppetry.
The other gentlemen finally find their feet and sprint away in sheer terror, just as the entity seems to disappear into thin air.
But then that doesn't explain a few other things, like where would their shadows be? Where would the shadow of the camera be? Interesting.
This video was created by a Russian paranormal investigator named Tim Morozov. In recent months, he's become well known for investigating some very creepy, very haunted locations, and also for his use of very unorthodox yet very creative devices to assist him in detecting paranormal phenomena, such as this EMF and motion detector that he's retrofitted inside of a porcelain doll. It appears that he's all alone in this house as he sets up his static cameras. He places them in position to capture all angles of the room around him while he's sleeping. He then gets himself ready for bed, jumps into his sleeping bag, and falls asleep. Hours after he's fallen asleep, the static cameras begin to capture some very interesting activity.
Oh, thank goodness. One is playing better than the last several ones. This looks like string. I can tell you it's not wind because of how this isn't blowing.
Watch the motion of the cup. It rolls around on the table in a controlled fashion as if someone has an open palm on it, guiding it back and forth.
I'm now completely suspicious of my string theory.
The camera on the opposite side of this wall captures footage of a dining chair.
That could easily be string. That could easily be string.
Then something begins to interfere with the audio of the camera. The wardrobe door then swings open. Having experienced this personally before, I know how disorienting it is. To wake up and subconsciously notice subtle changes in the room around you. Try and put yourself in his shoes and imagine how he's feeling when he wakes up, turns on his flashlight, and reviews the footage.
Well, that was spooky.
What is up, Mindseaters? Colton here. I've really been
What's this?
below and letting me know which ones are the scariest, the creepiest, the most disturbing. It just helps me figure out which direction I'm taking my next video.
Oh shit, dude.
Okay, so here's a fun trick for all of you. If you want to see a ghost, tell yourself there's a ghost in the building. And get you something like an EMF reader, or literally a random noisemaker, or a set of dice. Sit down and watch those random noisemakers. And tell yourself there's a ghost in this house. And you will start to find evidence of ghost. Things will start to move in ways you did not expect them to. Those noisemakers will start to make sounds that you could not imagine. If you're rolling dice and asking questions, they will seem to conform to your answers. Confirmation bias is built into us. We will ignore the failures and pick out the successes. And when that comes to random things, we will assign something to give us those answers that we sought out. In this case, it's ghost. So when you see someone with a EMF reader, that's just a noisemaker. Any anatomy you can find and put to ghost, that's going to be put to ghost in your head. You just stuck someone else's video in here, didn't you?
Rotten odor.
Smells and feels are things you can say you captured, things you got, but no one can prove it. You can walk into a place after someone told you to smell it, like, I don't smell anything. Oh, you must have been in that moment. You can walk into a place and say, oh, I don't fear that. Oh, you must not be sensitive to it. Kitty cat. That was squeaking, not crying. Those radio frequency things are just scanning radio sounds, radio signals repeatedly, and you're gonna hear voices on it. Ah, this is just an ad. This is just an ad.
It seems like he's trying to lead us up the stairs.
Let's go. Show us where it is.
Why are you using a cat as a guide, ghost guide? I have several cats and I have grown up with the cats. If there's one thing I can tell you, the cat is not going to help you out. If the cat sees a ghost, it's not going to help you out with it. It's just going to be like, hey ghost, how's it going? You mind putting food in my dish? This loser won't. Cat ain't going to help you find a ghost. Anyways, that was the last of my pre-selected ghost videos. I think I'm gonna leave this off for today. Thank you very much everyone who joined in. I did see a few people pop in, and sad you didn't say hi, but hi back anyways. I appreciate every single one of you, and you all have a lovely evening. Goodbye!